Hi, Ben. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. So look, we have Ben White here, who is the veteran broker, who is now enjoying life more than ever. Ben sold his broking business for 7 figures and now runs FYI Business Coaching.
Yes.
So I thought I'd start. Could you maybe tell us what do you do and what mission are you on?
So the tagline on my website says we help small businesses go from chaos to streamlined so they can thrive efficiently from day one.
Okay.
And that came about because what I found, I really underestimated the value of coaching early on in my career. And when I did take on some coaching, I thought to myself, one day I would like to be in this position
Yeah.
coaching others.
Yeah.
And when I sold my business, I looked at all my different options and I just went down to one of our beaches and I just sat there, got a coffee and just kind of mapped out what I was going to do. And that chaos to streamline kept coming up because I think a lot of businesses, a lot of small businesses experience chaos when they're first starting.
I think that's interesting. Obviously, a lot of thoughts being put into that tagline. I think something for me that stands out is day one. Sometimes trends that I hear from business owners is, 2, 3, 4 years in, they're like, oh, now I'll get a mentor, now I'll get coaching, like kind of, or, I started it, it is chaos, it's not working. And so have you found a lot of your clients now, is there a kind of trend in the market where people are coming earlier when they're starting their businesses, or where do you find people kind of get into that bit where they're like, oh, okay, I need help?
I think people are a lot more open to coaching than they used to be.
Yeah.
It also does depend on the level of coaching that's available. When I started in 1998, in the first few years, there weren't really any industry professionals that we could fall back to. We were looking at banking professionals, but they were diametrically opposed to what we were doing because we were taking away their business. So we didn't end up getting a lot of coaching from that perspective. It was a lot of self-taught. But now, yes, we are finding that people are coming in earlier in their business. They're recognizing that when I say there's chaos in businesses, quite often that's just a heap of bad habits.
Yeah, got it.
And that's what we're trying to unravel.
Got it. Okay. Interesting. I'd love to hear more about the business where you're at now, but I would like to take a step back, start from the beginning. Is there anything maybe, and I'd love to hear a bit about your background, sort of what formed you both as a person, but also, as a business owner professionally. Maybe tell us a bit about sort of years growing up, if there's any particular stories or moments that stick in your mind that really kind of shaped how you approach business and how you approach life.
I think most of the things that have shaped me have been from childhood, typical Sydney Northern Beaches childhood. We ended up in Avalon, and I'm very grateful for that we ended up on the northern beaches of Sydney. Dad was from North Shore, Mum was from inner city. Okay. And my dad only found out about Avalon because as a 8-year-old, he used to pedal his bike from Chatswood across the Roseville Bridge and then hitchhike to Bilgola Beach to be a surf lifesaver.
Okay.
And so it was one of those places that most people back in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s thought was too far away from the city to be of any value.
Got it.
And a lot of people thought that it was a big mistake moving there. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. But it was an idyllic lifestyle growing up, going to the beach, just 800 meters from the beach in one direction and then pit water over the back in the other direction. And yeah, it was fantastic. I can't complain. I suppose one of the main things that shaped me in business is that my parents split up when I was in primary school. My father was a very successful switchboard engineer who did a lot of famous big buildings around Sydney. Probably the most famous would be Luna Park after the Ghost Train fire. Okay. And so there is that self-employed element in our family. And one thing that I was taught is if you want it, go get it. Okay. And because my parents split up and I lived with my mum and my grandmother moved in, so I was living with 3 generations of women, there wasn't a lot of money. Nobody had a lot of money back then. And if you wanted something, you had to go out, get a job and earn it. So I would think of all different ways to earn money to get what I needed to do and fund my little lifestyle as a primary school kid and then a high school kid.
Yeah. And I remember, I think when we spoke another time, you mentioned there was a day where I think you came back to your home and there
Mm.
was a newspaper. Your dad had
Yeah,
written a note.
my mum wrote a
Your mum
note.
was it?
Yeah, so I did my HSC, and like many kids, I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I thought I did, but then I changed my mind a few times. And the school I went to, private boys' school down in Brookvale, said, your parents are paying for your education, so you have to fill in the university admission form. And so I filled it in, and I got into University of New South Wales doing psychology. And I said to my mum, I'm not going. I'm not doing this. I want to get out and earn some money. I can't do study for another 4 years. And so from that point, we got our HSC results in January. And I just thought I'd keep surfing for January till I worked out what I wanted. My mother had other ideas. So I got back from a surf one morning, and she said to me, I had the Manly Daily was open. And Manly Daily was our daily newspaper.
Yeah.
And it was open at the jobs section. And it had a little note. And it said, hey, Ben, love you. Get a job or leave home. And that was just the motivation I needed.
Yeah.
So I applied for 3 jobs that day. I got all 3 of them. And I ended up getting a admin job at the Manly Warringah Rugby League Club as a stock control clerk, assistant to the bar manager for $114 net a week.
Okay.
And that kind of set me on my way. But it was a really good kick in the pants that I needed at the time.
Yep.
And from that point, I had a brief, I would say, 6-year career in hospitality until I moved my way into banking.
Got it. And tell me a little bit about, because you are very successful with your broking business eventually and selling it a few years ago. What sort of got you into finance broking initially? Was there anything that kind of drew you to it?
I had an incident in hospitality, and when I moved on from the Leagues Club, I worked for a consortium of hotels, and they had about 12 or 15 hotels in the Sydney area, and I was an assistant manager, and we'd move around. And unfortunately, in one of them, one evening, we were held up. And so that had a little bit of an impact on me in that short term. And being at gunpoint was a very different experience because I'd never actually seen a gun in my life. And so I decided I wanted a change of career. And I was moving in that direction anyway, because I found that being around alcohol and gambling is not something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And so I looked at banking and I thought, they've got really big screens that pop up if anyone comes at you with a gun. That was my first motivation.
Wow.
And so I applied at all the different banks. And because I'd been in an armed robbery incident, they were very reluctant to take me on. So Commonwealth Bank made me go and see a psychologist, which I did, and got a report from them, and then successfully started with a Commonwealth Bank. When I got to the Commonwealth Bank on the Northern Beaches, they said to me, look, don't get excited, but you're not going to progress quickly. It's going to take you a few years. So within 18 months, I'd gone from level 1 to level 4, and I was the personal lender at the Avalon branch. Got back to the Avalon branch where I'd grown up and managed to turn that book into a $6 million book into a $22 million book in a year. And I knew everyone there. So I was greeting all the people that I knew, and I got all the home loans there. But the way I became a broker was a funny little conversation on a Friday night. The good thing about the banks back then, there was lots of staff. They were all very social. So we would all get together at one venue on a Friday night.
Yeah.
And one of the mobile lenders was the number 1 mobile lender in Australia for the Commonwealth Bank. And he approached me and he said, there's this new mortgage broking thing. And he said, how do you feel when you're doing the personal lending at Avalon and you miss out on a deal? I said, well, it's really frustrating because people will just go from one bank to the 4 banks within the Avalon village and shop you. He said, this mortgage broking thing, we'll be able to deal with 12 banks. And I said, wow, how's that work? How do we get paid? He said, I have no idea, but I think we get paid $500 a loan.
Okay.
And I was on $32,000 back there. I was dating my now wife, who we've been married for 25 years this year. And I knew I wanted to marry her. I wanted to stay on the Northern Beaches, and being in the Commonwealth Bank in the position I was in wasn't going to cut it. So took the leap of faith in 1998 and we ended up, I ended up working for them. They formed this mortgage brokerage, which was linked to Specialist Mortgage in Perth. And early on, we kind of muddled our way through it. You know, we were given a paper sheet with some rates on it and everything else. And we had to convince people that we weren't stockbrokers because we called ourselves finance brokers back then. And there was, it was a really murky time of what we actually did. And we were trying to work it out ourselves. But I was given a great opportunity. I'm very, very grateful to the people who gave me that opportunity back then. Yeah.
That's so interesting coming in just in that early stages. I think it'd be interesting to hear sort of how did the reality of being a broker sort of differentiate from what you thought it would be?
I thought that people would be more receptive to mortgage broking at the time, but it wasn't until 2000 with the Olympics, and there was a little bit of maturity in the business. Bank West was very big in those early stages. A lot of the big banks hadn't really come on board. I suppose it was Bank West, ANZ, and a few others. One of my first accreditation training days for St. George was the day that Advanced Bank and St. George were merging. And so they really didn't know what they were doing. A lot of the Advanced Bank staff took over the training for St. George, and they were kind of, we don't know where anything is. And it was all a bit chaotic. But I think when we hit the Olympics in 2000, we'd matured a bit and people started to recognize mortgage brokerage. And I think if we look back historically, most people, when they went for a home loan, would be dictated to by the branch about, you don't have enough savings, go back and save more and then come back and see me again. When they saw a mortgage broker, all those barriers came down because we might say to them, well, you don't fit with Westpac, but ANZ will give you a home loan. And that's something they hadn't explored before. In that period from 2000 to 2003, we had a massive boom in property prices. And I think brokers had a part to play in that.
It just sounds so unbelievable today to think that, you know, I think you said what it was like access to 12 banks initially and the amount of lenders we have access to these days and how commonplace it is. And I think when you spoke before, you said the percentage of people using a broker when you first started was like less than 1% or something.
I think it was 1/3 of a percent.
1/3 of a percent. Very right there in the grassroots. And I guess maybe you could tell us a little bit about sort of what were the biggest challenges that you sort of had to overcome as a young and ambitious broker, you know, as you grew the brokerage, and how did you overcome those challenges?
I think, as I said, the main thing was recognition and people actually understanding what we do. So there was a big push to try and bridge that gap, that knowledge gap. And then more brokers, more bankies started leaving their banks and becoming brokers, which was great for us because we were getting more of an overall exposure of what brokers can do. One of the main things was, I said many years ago when I was interviewed, I said, what most people don't realize is mortgage brokers never intended to become self-employed. They just wanted to do the mortgages. So then there's that whole other part to the business of being a business owner and running a business, a self-employed business. And that's what a lot of people struggled with. I was lucky that I had a father who was self-employed and ran big businesses. And so I used to ask him some different questions about things. I used to seek out other self-employed business owners who were quite successful, and I would just ask them questions. How do you do this? What do you do with your staff? But I think that was one of the biggest challenges, learning that you're not only a technician in your business, but you're also now a business owner and you're trying to grow it and scale.
As you sort of grew the business, obviously the market, it was getting the education out there in terms of what you guys do. Then as it became more mainstream, you know, you're seeing the growth, more lenders are coming out, different types of lending. I understand you started to diversify in the latter years of the business, bit into the commercial business finance. We had a great partnership with your brokerage. Can you tell us a little bit about when we were partnered on the broking side of the business? How did that sort of help support your business? And I guess, was there any sort of interesting scenario examples of where we're able to sort of help a client out of a sticky situation or get them the funding they needed to?
Yeah. So on your first point, I'm a big believer in diversification in mortgage brokerage businesses, but not so much within the business itself. I believe brokers should really stick to their niche and stick to one thing that they're really good at. What we did is we diversified before it was cool. So we had clients, investment clients asking us, you did a great job with the mortgage. Do you manage properties, by the way? No, we don't, but we probably could. So in 2005, I engaged a friend of mine who was a property manager, and we started property management. So we got ourselves into real estate. Then we, in 2010, we approached a financial planner and brought them on board. So we really had this whole business, which was putting a white picket fence around our clients. We helped our clients. I couldn't tell you. It would be in the billions of over the last 20 years of wealth that we've helped create.
Yeah.
But when I say that a business should diversify, what I found is that if we as individual brokers tried to do commercial and asset finance and resi, you would get muddled, I think would be the best term for it. And so with business partners like Valiant, I found it really helpful to say that these are business partners that I deal with to my clients. And I would say my business partners handle this asset side. I've got a team who does this. And when I used to refer deals to Valiant, that was specifically what I would say to clients. I've got a team who can do that. Do you do car finance? Yes, we do. We've got a team that specializes in that.
Yeah.
Great. And if the client was a little bit clingy to us, we would simply just act as the middleman with your team. They would feed the information back to us and we would go back to the client. But if the client was really happy to go direct and speak to one of your team, we'd also take that approach. Yeah. We had some very successful scenarios. One was we just weren't getting any traction with a deal for a plumber in South Australia who wanted to buy a commercial factory. And it wasn't the biggest deal in the world, but it was a decent size, and it was decent for that size for that part of South Australia.
Yeah.
And the commercial bankers just weren't really interested in it. And they were putting it in the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I came to Valiant and I talked about the deal. Before we knew it, we had someone involved. We had someone take over. It was successfully in transit. The guy purchased the commercial property. It's made a massive impact in his business now. And we were able to secure the deal.
Yeah.
So that was really good.
Love that.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I think we deal with thousands of brokers across the country. And I think you're right in terms of the ones that we're seeing have the high growth. They're sticking to they're forming a niche that's unique to their skills and kind of creating a brand and around that niche and awareness with their clients that, hey, I focus on this. But then, like you say, partnering with companies like Valiant or other companies where there's always going to be business, right? Clients going to come to you and say, do you do this? Sometimes strategically, it might make sense to bolt that into your business because it just works.
Yes.
But you're right. A lot of brokers, I guess, think, oh, well, I could do that. I'm leaving cash on the table. And I think sometimes it's a double-edged sword. Yes, you want whole of wallet. So your clients come to you and say, I need a car, I need a commercial property. Yes, I can help you with that. Here's my partner, Valiant. Like whole of wallet is important, but whole of wallet being, I think, strategic around partnering with someone who's expert in it versus trying to bring it in-house. That seems to be a very important decision.
It's very important. Yeah. About 2012, 2013, I read a book and I made sure from that day on, once I finished the last page, that I would never make decisions on fear or greed.
Okay.
And when you said that a lot of brokers have that thought of share of wallet and that fear that the client's going to go elsewhere, and also the greed of, I want to do this, rather than outsourcing it, getting a better result, and you focusing on what's going to drive your business forward and what your key offerings are. Yeah. And that's where I think a lot of it comes in, the fear and greed. If you have no fear in your business and you build yourself with good business partners, your clients won't be leaving you. They'll be thanking you for the smooth experience that happened from the other business professional that you engaged into the relationship.
And I guess you're probably going to enjoy your business more because you're focusing on what you do best, whether a lot of the time it's generally bringing new business, speaking with the clients.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting.
Yes.
So right now, you sold the business 2-3 years ago, I believe, the broking business.
Yeah. We settled in March 2024.
Okay.
So yeah, about 18 months ago.
Tell me a bit about, there's brokers that maybe are thinking about selling their business. If you're happy to share, it'd be
Yeah.
great to hear about how that came about, the experience, maybe any tips if someone's looking to get their business in a
Mm.
position where they might be looking to sell soon
Yeah.
or at some point.
Yeah. I suppose the key factor was, I really enjoy training people. I
Mm,
love coaching people. And I was doing that in our business. And I found that I had great business partners. The business was going extremely well. It had three parts to its business. It had
mm,
a finance education business, financial planning, and then I was running the mortgage side of the business. And
mm,
I merged with them 2 years before, equal sized mortgage businesses, put them both together, and we had a big business. And it was an absolutely fantastic business that was going extremely well. But
mm,
I found myself more and more being drawn to the coaching and the training and the systems and the
mhm,
processes side
mm.
every day. And when they graciously celebrated my 25 years in mortgage broking in July 2023, it was like, yeah, 25 years in mortgage broking. And then about a week later, it was like, oh, 25 years. Wow. Where has that time gone? And for me, it was a bit of an epiphany that maybe I should refocus myself. And I thought, you know what? I need a change. The mortgage brokerage industry has been fantastic for myself and my family. It's given us financial stability. I've been able to put my three boys through high school. They're all now doing uni. We've traveled the world. We've had great businesses. All my ex-staff still talk to me, most of them. And so I'd achieved a lot. And I think when you get to a certain milestone, you're looking for what's next.
Mhm.
And for me, having achieved what I wanted to achieve, I was looking for that what's next. And that was starting to share my knowledge
Mm,
and share what I'd learned over the 25 years. So I approached my business partners. And for anyone looking to sell their business, that's the first thing you do.
mm,
And I approached them. I said, look, I just want to be totally transparent with you guys, but this is how I'm feeling. And we looked at different options of them buying me out.
mm,
And we had to quickly dispel that because we had a large business and
mm.
it was right on the border of too big for one person or one group to buy at the stage that we were. So we decided to sell it and put it on the market.
Mhm.
And that process is quite interesting. I've sold two other businesses for seven figures. The financial planning business we sold for seven figures, and I also sold the property management business for seven figures in
Mm,
2018. So I'd learned that you really should have your business every single day
mm.
in sale mode. It should always be ready for sale.
Okay.
And the way you do that is you make sure that you've got your systems and processes in place,
Mm.
that if something happens to you, you can be taken out of that business and someone can come in straight away
Yeah.
and keep running it, which is the very essence of selling a business.
Yeah.
So from that point, we started to look at the business. We were just auditing our own business to make sure it was ready for sale.
Yeah.
Then we contacted the broker who was selling trail books. They did all the analysis on our book. It was one of the bigger books that they'd sold. The runoff of a normal book is around 15 to 20% a year.
Mhm.
We had a runoff of 7%.
Okay.
So it was ridiculously low. We didn't realize at the time. It was
Yeah.
just thankfully good practice.
Yeah.
But all the metrics and the due diligence that they did on our book and then had that dossier and gave that to prospective buyers meant that people could see exactly how the business was functioning um, and what they were actually buying.
Yep.
And so it was bought by a group in Melbourne.
Okay.
I think we had 21 groups buy the dossier because you have to purchase that. They bought the dossier. We had about 18 offers and we accepted the third highest offer.
Okay.
The reason we did that is because we wanted a good cultural fit. And I said to the trail broker, I said, I don't want you to just find the highest bidder. I want you to find someone who's a good fit for our business because I still want to be invited to barbecues. My life's work is in that trail book and my family's in that trail book. There's a lot of trust in there. So it's got to go to someone who's going to respect how that business was built. And we're not looking for the highest offer. Okay. So we took that offer. And we settled on it in March 2024.
So from there, you've now set up FYI Business Coaching.
Coaching.
I've met some of your clients. They rave about your work. Can you tell me a little bit about that business, I guess who you work with, how you approach it, and I guess what are the main areas that you focus on with your clients, tips on sort of starting, growing in their businesses, and maybe more of the focus on the resi brokerage businesses,
Yeah.
but obviously
Yeah.
talk to the others as well.
Yeah. So I started FYI Business Coaching. I've used the FYI name since 1998. And we've had various iterations of it. First started as FYI Mortgage Introducers with my business partner that I had for 18 years. And then we had various FYI Group. And then when he and I parted ways, I went to FYI Money. I just basically wanted to find the shortest acronym to do with finance, using FYI and shortest business name. And then I used the same logo. My graphic designer, I went back to her and said, I'm changing the business. I'm getting out of mortgage brokerage, but I'm going to do business coaching. And we went through all these different options. And she said, you know what? I really like the logo we created. I like the tagline that's under it. Let's just tweak it a little bit. Yeah. The mortgage business was helping you navigate the finance maze, and we've just changed it to helping you navigate the business maze. Okay. So FYI Business Coaching is all about, there's two main sides to the business. The biggest side at the moment would be the new to industry mortgage brokers and mentoring them through their first 2 years. I receive amazing support from Connective. Okay. They're by far my biggest fan, and I'm very, very grateful to Roselle and Fiona and all the partnership managers at Connective. They're a big part of my business. Okay. And I also, because I'm working with another coach and mentor, Nancy Youssef, we have done a couple of events together. I was lucky enough to speak at one of her events, and then we did one together just recently, the Broker Shift event held at the Hilton, 25 mortgage brokers, and that was highly successful. And from that, naturally, we get people approaching us saying, can you coach us? Yeah. And so there's been a great response from that. And I think that not only do I really enjoy the new to industry mortgage brokers, like dealing with a first home buyer who you're helping them create their own generational wealth. There's a lot of self-satisfaction in that. And I've built a very robust program with over 26 hours of video. Most videos are around 4 minutes long. Okay. So it tells you how many videos are in there. And we have an extensive program. So it's working really well. As I said to you just earlier, we've only had one person really drop out of the program early.
That's great.
Which is a testament to how well we're going as a coaching business.
Yeah. Especially when you consider how many new to market resi brokers just don't last those first 1 to 2 years.
Yeah. I didn't realize how high it was.
Yeah. And I guess on that, how do you feel about the resi broker industry at the moment?
I'm very positive about it. Okay. I celebrate that it's over 76% of market share. Okay. Now, I mean, that's awesome. We were saying where I started with less than 1%. Yeah. We're now up to 76%. We have a mature professional industry. AFCA reports that the complaints against mortgage brokers is infinitesimally small because the industry has matured so well, thanks to the FBAA and the MFAA, and aggregators have played a massive part in that. And they've been probably the biggest perpetuators of regulation and professional outcomes. And I think we've got one of the most professional outcomes and industries in the world. It is profitable. It is an awesome job. I think it's one of the best jobs in the world. I think I said this to you, that you can help someone grow their generational wealth and you don't charge them a fee and somebody else pays you for it. Yeah. I think that's a fantastic exchange. Yeah. But the other side of the residential business is that residential mortgage broking is that it's getting highly competitive. I think there's 22,500 mortgage brokers out there now. And when you look at the figures of who's writing the top volumes, it's only the top 10% that's writing a massive amount of the volume. Yeah. And I suppose the answer for that, for any mortgage broker, is don't be a general practitioner. Niche down. Yep. Be very, very good at what you do and be known for what you do. Yep. And you will attract people. And I think, again, that leans itself to you need business partners for the areas that you're not super strong in or not focused in your niche so that you can offer great services to your clients, still keep them within your little white picket fence and within your sphere of influence, but still be able to keep going and make money in your business and not take your focus off something that is a crowded business now.
And I guess on that point, it's a crowded market, the resi broker market, a lot of new brokers entering every day. I guess you touched on it there in terms of how would you suggest a new to market broker differentiates themselves? You talk to niching. Do you talk much to brand? Is there any other things you think a new to market broker? Obviously, there's a lot to focus on, but is there particular things they should be thinking sort of medium to long term to start to build?
Yeah, there's a couple of points there. Firstly, mortgage brokers need to realize that they're not in the finance industry. They're in the people industry. They build relationships, and the mortgage brokerage side of the business is a byproduct of that relationship. Once someone knows, likes, and trusts you, they will let you touch their biggest investment, being their home or other investments, and they'll allow you to give them advice on that. When you're looking at that know, like, and trust factor, it's really, really important to know that you need to niche down and be known for something. I say to the new brokers that come on to my program, they're like, oh, but I need to get my business cards and I need to get my website up and going and I need to choose a really cool company name. I'm like, forget the business cards, forget the website, and forget the company name. You are the brand.
Yes.
The brand is you. So get people to know, like, and trust you. And if you were in banking or in hospitality or whatever your identity was before, your main job now is to get people to think mortgage broker, Bob, and have that association between you, and that becomes your identity. I still find too many people fixating on the website's going to help me, all these kind of things. So that's my main advice. Get into your own brand quick. For those that want to scale a business, that's fine. That comes after you've established yourself as a player in the industry.
That's such a good point. We're almost out of time. Is there anything that I haven't asked you today that I should have asked you?
A lot of people are wondering if this is a crowded market. And like anything, I think there's always room for people who are passionate about getting into a people-related business. If you're truly passionate about helping people, trust me, the money will come. Just go hard, look after people, do the best thing by them, get as good as you can in your craft, and the money will come. And many, many experienced brokers will testify to that. If you're into mortgage broking to make money, you're in the wrong industry. You'll get found out very, very quickly. But the main thing I would say, and there's nothing you haven't asked me, I think we've covered off a lot of it. But the main thing in this industry, I think, is I try and help my mentees when I first speak to them. I say to them, not only am I going to help you how to write a mortgage successfully and compliantly and for the best interest of your client, but I'm going to help you build a profitable and sustainable mortgage brokerage. And I think that's one thing that we really need to focus on the business side, getting your systems and processes in place, taking the time early on in your career to sit down, do your systems and processes and replicate everything, write down every system and process that needs to be done. And if you don't know how to do that, get in touch with someone like myself who can help you do that. And I'm also a big fan of coaching. You should have mentors in your life at any given stage because there's always room for growth. The best times in my career and the most growth that I've seen is when I've re-engaged with mentors and coaching. And look, there's lots of fantastic people in the mortgage industry who are fantastic mentors. We've got people that have been in the industry for many, many years, like Mark Harron for Connective, Brad Wood from Astute, Chris Slater, who used to be with AFG. There's lots of different people in the industry who you can seek counsel from, ask questions from. Just don't try and do it by yourself.
That's a great point. And I think, we speak to brokers every day and it's either feast or famine. They're either stressed because I've got no leads, or they're stressed because of I've got too many leads. And I think what you're talking about there, getting that help of let's try and smooth out the business, the processes, get that foundation built so that, you're less from feast to famine and you're more kind of as
Yes.
much as you can in business.
Yes.
Having that smooth journey. But
Yes.
look, thank you so much for your time. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you or your team?
Yeah, look, our business, our website is great. It covers off on everything we need to do. It's fyibc.com.au.
Okay.
Keeping it nice and short again. But fyibc.com.au or just on LinkedIn, easily contacted.
Ben, thank you for your time today. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Your story is inspirational in terms of, growing from that early stage in the industry, selling the business, but also following your passion then more into the business coaching side, the mentoring side. I think that's just so interesting in terms of like making that transition from actually what's next? What am I really enjoying? And then also giving to people. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for inviting me on.
Oh, cool.